Hi, good afternoon, and thanks for waiting. We have a bit of starting time delay. Hi, Ruchika, Shweta, good to see you. Okay, you can feel free to unmute because I think we're gonna have a small group here, and welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for waiting in the Zoom waiting room just now. Great, let's kickstart here, right? Maybe a short introductions about myself here first. I think for the first time people, my name is Charlene. Yes, noted for the notes, Ruchika. And my name is Charlene, and I'm based in Singapore, right? I'm on my journey of ICF level 3 currently, and I've been coaching since 2018. For today over here, we will be going through the ICF core competency number 6, active listening, right? And thanks for coming in early. And I hope that in today's session here, we're going to take a look at how we have been training ourselves in listening. Right? I hope that this is the right room for everyone.
Yep.
Right, thank you, Shweta. Ruchika, if you feel free, you can type it into the chat as well, or you want to put in an emoji, that's fine too, so that, I know that you are still there. Right, so before we begin, I would like to do a little bit of centering, right? This is a closed eye centering, and just uncross your arm, uncross your leg. Hope that Ruchika is not driving. If you're somewhere commuting, just do whatever you need to do and pay attention, right? Just, let's take a deep breath. And as we are taking a deep breath, you can slowly, gently close your eyes. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in, fill up your lungs, and exhale. So as you're breathing in, I want you to focus back into yourself, relaxing your body. Perhaps some adjustment is needed. Perhaps you might find some tension somewhere. Just make a little adjustment here and there. Let's take it one more time. Inhale and exhale. Let's pay attention to the surrounding that we are in. You may be hearing my voice through the Zoom, or you may be hearing some other sound in your environment. Gonna pause here for a while, and let's have you merge into your surrounding wherever you are. If you're on a move, pay attention where you are moving to. With the eyes closed, if your eyes closed, pay attention to your surrounding. Listening in. This is a core competency number 6, active listening. What are you hearing? Maybe the bird chirping. Maybe some traffic outside. Maybe the crowd around you. Maybe you're quietly sitting down here. Maybe the fan in your environment. The air conditioning blowing out the fan. Or maybe the fan of your laptop or your machine. As you are listening to the external environment, imagine how distant is it away from where you are at currently. Let's have your imagination stretch beyond the furthest sound that you can hear. What might be there? And let's say if you stretch further into the larger environment, the city you are in, what might be there? What kind of sound that it might produce? And let's have you also come back to the inner part of you. What are you hearing yourself saying? What is your body saying? Is there a sound to the heartbeat? Is there something that you have been saying to yourself that is emerging now? Maybe some errands, maybe something else that you needed to do later, or maybe something that you just finished before the session here. Pay attention to those. And let's take a deep breath. And exhale. And let's take a deep breath one more time. And exhale. As you're taking the last deep breath, you can start wiggle your toes and your fingers, slowly, gently coming back to the session here. All right, type in the chat or share. How do you feel here right now? Shweta?
Good. I'm happy to be here. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
I'm only going to take a second, if you don't mind, to just shut the door. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
I guess Shweta is actually listening to sounds around. Okay, let me share my screen as well. Right. So today, as we are going deeper into this core competency here, I would love you all to not listen to me. Let me share why I'm saying that. Okay, Team Abhyudaya, can I have the host so that I can share the screen? Thank you. When I say that not listening to me here, what do I really mean, right? Let me get through that and I'll share a little bit more. Because there are so many sound in the surrounding, I'm sure you all have heard something as well in that centering exercise. I'm sure you have heard sounds that you go like, hey, I didn't pay attention that sound exists. Like Shweta, she just noticed that, hey, the door is open. There's something coming out from outside to the inside here. Does it make sense here, Shweta?
Yeah. Yeah.
So as we are going through this core competency, do not listen to Charlene. Pay attention to yourself more as we're going through, because I hope that this particular session can give you some insights in terms of how you might and you can practice active listening as wherever your coaching journey is. All right? Okay. So let's make it about you in this session here. Active listening. So in the coaching that we all do is a huge part of it, active listening. And you might have here in the coaching lessons or mentors that we're saying that, hey, we talk less and let the client talk. And we listen all the time and let the client talk. Actually, listening itself, it is a primary intervention, because in that moment, the client will be heard. And in that moment, the client will be able to process with clarity as well as we deepen into the conversations. Right, let's get into that a little bit. So when I say that do not listen to me when I'm talking, I would like you to listen to yourself a little bit more. And of course, welcome questions, right? You can type in the chat, or you can just, bounce off the questions along the way as you have. But I would like you to also understand what actually emerged in you as I'm sharing here, right? So that will give you a clue in terms of which area that you can practice further with this core competencies. Yeah. In all my sessions, I show these core competencies, and we're going to go through 6 of them. I'm going to give a little bit of examples as I'm going through each and every one of them. because in the ICF definition, it says that focus on what the client is and is not saying to fully understand really what is being communicated in the context of the client systems and to support client self-expression. And I find that this is only one part of it. And there are certain parts, it is actually how coaches, we ourselves listen back to ourselves. And also we may be listening to our own world that may be interfering into our listening ability together with the client, right? This is the main reasons why I say, don't listen to me, learn from the example, but also at the same time, listen into yourself, which we sometimes seldom do. All right? Okay, let's get going. So I'm going to go through that 6 core competency and give you some a little bit of flavors and examples, and sometimes I will use it in that way. Then later on, we are going to take a look at what actually is a pitfall, right? When we come into listening practice. So the 6.1 is really saying that consider all context from clients, whether their identity, values, belief systems, environment, experience, cultural aspect of everything in terms of what they are actually saying. So here's the thing here is that there will be a lot of data that downloaded from the client. Client is going to talk and talk and talk and talk about their stories. What happened is they are kind of like throwing you a bunch of puzzles. And for us coaches, it is the quicker you piece up the puzzle, the quicker that you can see the world behind the words that they are saying. Right? This is how I am visualizing on all my coaching sessions. And sometimes when a client just says, hey, I need more confidence, right? And a lot of times we thought we know the versions of confidence that the client is actually asking. However, sometimes if we are not paying attention, we may be too generalizing confidence, right? For example, an example question here is that when you're saying confidence, help me to understand the environment you feel that is absent the most. In a way, saying that where is actually not happening for confidence for you. And it actually allow the client to dig deeper into things that they have not said. Sometimes I do explain why I am asking this is because I like to use this analogy in a way that I say that, hey, I do not want to generalize your way of confidence. Some of my clients feel confidence this way, that way, and I feel confidence in different way as well. And I want to hear your version as well. So that actually get the client who are very highly logical to give you, to have a little bit of like comfort to actually share more, right? Because sometimes they just don't understand why coaches ask such a deep questions. They may not ready yet, right? So pay attention to how have you been considering the client's context, okay, as a whole. So 6.2, the way that I actually like to do this is really to parrot back, right? And there's a caveat here is really sometimes we are parroting back without stating a powerful questions. That may not land very well, right? And sometimes if we are not summarizing, it is also hard for us to track. And suddenly you realize that some of the clients start to talk about their work and the whole conversation mutate until like they talk about their children or their spouse. And then you go like, are you talking about the work or are you talking about the family? Right? The coaching topic will not be able to crystallize in that way. And we are being swinged here and there by the client. And sometimes this ability to reflect and summarize is a key part to put the puzzles together to see the world in totality. That actually shows that you are tracking the conversations. And sometimes when a client is jumping from topic to topic, it is useful to use a powerful questions to ground them, to really say that, hey, I'm hearing this and that, right? For example, in this case here, that there is actually an our success you want, there's a persistent voice that's telling you're not ready, and all these things depends on context of the stories. And a powerful question could look like in this situation, if I may imagine, the client says, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. And then I may ask the questions, actually, what is actually limiting you? Right? So that got the client to think and is forwarding based on the situations, right? Feel free to ask any questions, yeah, in the chat. And I am Gonna look at the chat too. Okay, great. Right. Any questions so far? Shweta,
No,
Ruchika. Okay, cool.
no, I'm all right. Thank you. Yeah.
Welcome. Right, the third one here is very interesting here is sometimes the energy drop comes from or the changes in the way that the client is speaking, whether it's carry weights or is it like suddenly becoming very surface. It's a shift that we will be resonating as well.
Mhm.
And that's when listening to your own thoughts and on your own assumptions, your own judgment in that space is very important. Otherwise, we kind of go like, hey, I thought there's something there just now. Maybe should I ask, should I not ask? If you ask, if it's not the case, then it's not the case. But when we ask things like, for example, hey, I noticed something shifted just now when you said this. What's underneath that? Right? Another way is when a client talk and they pause and they talk and they pause, or they give a very short answer, I just go on and say, tell me more, and tell me more. So this is one of my favorite way to actually to see if there is more, right? Or if you are asking them to list down certain challenges, just ask, is there any more? Right? If there's nothing, then okay, we can pause there. And this actually allow us to explore deeply if there may be something still underneath the surface. Okay, it's part of the listening thing. 6.344. So when we are noticing changes and when we are acknowledging what the client emotions, energy shift, and all the verbal cues and whatnot, right? So there is a part of us when we are exploring, just also ask yourself, how have you been exploring with curiosity, right? In this part here is like, it's a join from 6.3 into the 6.4 here, that we notice certain things change. What happened in that moment? And especially when certain clients, they are expressing certain things and you see their face turn red or eyes get teary and they start shaking or they start go into a very different somatic state. And that's when you can actually ask, hey, I noticed something is shaking here. I noticed that you're very anxious, right? Your hands goes like rubbing here and there. Just name that. Hey, what's happening there? Right? This is also part of us are really listening by noticing as well the changes or the micro expressions or pauses. Or maybe the client sometimes will say things like, I'm doing this and this because of that. I think it doesn't matter. Oh, that's a 100-degree change in terms of the energy. And then I may ask things like, why does it matter? What constitute if it's matter? Right? So those are the subtle shift in the client emotions and the energy, and some of them is non-verbal cues. Their face turn red, or they just started to breathe very heavily, or they stop breathing. And all these are worthy to actually notice as we are listening. Okay, so listening doesn't come from only the sound, but it's also in the surrounding. The more you pay attention to your own surrounding, the more you can actually hear the client surrounding too, which is why the centering activity just now, this is some of the practice that I like to do, whether I'm commuting, whether I'm sitting down there doing nothing, or even when I'm doing something. I'm just going to pay attention to the surrounding. Where am I at? Even when I'm walking, right? I can hear my footsteps. And that's a very good practice to actually engage in on a daily basis to practice your own ability to listen to your own surrounding first. Yep. 6.5. When we always say that, client is a whole self and we're gonna hold this hold a space for the client and all these things, right? But sometimes you will notice a client, for example, they are smiling, they're laughing, talking about something serious. They're smiling and laughing, talking about something sad. This is like a kind of like a dissonance that we can actually point it out. And it is actually it can become a worthy coaching conversations for the client to realign themselves with the words that they say. Otherwise, sometimes they think certain things, and when it comes out from mouth, it's a different thing. Have you experienced that before? Yeah. Shweta, you want to ask something?
No, I'm just thinking. But I know what you mean. I can't say I've experienced it
Mm.
yet,
Okay.
but yeah, I know what you mean, because there are times when people will be talking about something. And so actually, I do know. Can I give you an example, or am I interrupting?
Yes, please.
So
No, please do. Please do.
So just I and because we're a small group,
Yeah.
and I know I'm feeling like it's okay to. So
Yeah, it's okay, please do.
I've just started my ACC journey. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's only been a month,
Mm.
but we have started our practice sessions. Like
Yeah,
25 that we need to do.
absolutely.
Um, and in one of them, I was talking to somebody, and he in a very nonchalant way said, "Oh, he didn't quite react to as people expected him to react when a family member passed away,
Mm. Mm.
and a close family member. I'm not talking about extended family. I'm talking about his core.
Yeah.
And so he was just kind of very like that. He says." Um, And I was thinking, what is going on with him, you know, in because it's not, I didn't expect him to burst into tears.
Mm.
I wasn't expecting that. And but at the same time, I didn't expect him to say what he did, you know,
Mm.
which
Mm.
which did kind of take me a little bit by surprise. But I think um and not to go into all the reasons why he was, but I think one of the things he said was that he likes to imagine, and like, for example, if him and his partner were to uh, if something were to happen, then he would quite quickly move on. So
Mm.
I said to him, then it's quite possible that without you realizing it, you had you have thought of this situation with your family member passing away,
Mm. Mm.
um, and so I think it was just the shift in expression, which was interesting.
Mm.
So I
Mm.
don't know, I haven't quite understood what to take away from that, but only because you talked about listening
Yeah.
and trying to understand what it meant.
Yeah.
So I just thought I'd kind of share that and
Yeah.
see. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for the example. May I ask you a further questions? In
Yes,
terms of
please.
the way that he expressed about if his partner passing away, what are
Yeah.
you actually hearing things that he did not say in that moment that you felt it?
Yeah. I felt that this is a person who is now this is very so there's a fine line here about what I thought, what I took away from him, and where I judged, you know,
Mm-hmm. Mm.
because it's quite
There's
nuanced.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, am I judging him? Am I
Yeah.
feeling it? So what is
Yes.
real? Yeah, I get
Yes.
it
Yes.
totally.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a fine line that we always want to bring it up to attention. So
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
I may ask further, what are you
Yeah.
actually judging? What are you actually feeling in
So
that short conversation? Yeah.
I think I was feeling that this man can look after himself.
Right. So what might you have
Okay.
judged him?
And then I was judging him by thinking that this is quite a selfish man.
Ah, see, that's the opposite. This man can take care of himself. This is quite a selfish man.
But they could be two sides of the same coin.
Sure, there's always two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
However, if you were to ask a clarification
Yeah.
question to
Yeah.
him, right?
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
roll back that reflection as a reflection.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how
Yeah. Yeah.
might that question look like? A
Yeah.
curious question to
Yeah.
him.
Yes. Oh, how would I rephrase that?
Yeah.
And
How will you rephrase a curious question to go into the fine line to
yeah,
discern whether,
yeah,
hey, am I judging? Is it
yeah,
a selfish man? Is it a man that can take care of himself? How might you
yeah.
frame that into a question?
I would maybe ask him how he feels about it,
Okay, good start. Yeah.
because if he were able to put words to his feelings,
Mm.
then that would help clarify which side of the coin.
Certain aspect that
Yeah,
he's thinking about himself, right?
yeah,
Then
yeah,
become
yeah,
his own story,
yeah,
not your
yeah,
judgment or
yeah,
feelings
yeah,
that you can't
yeah,
discern.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that
Would
is
that be a
actually,
good question?
it can be a good start because I'm not in that conversation. I do not know what is his
No,
context.
no,
So, but
no,
yeah,
no.
based on what you shared, it's a good
Yeah.
start. Definitely. How
Okay.
do you feel about this whole thing? That's it.
And what from whatever I've shared with
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
what would you ask? How would you rephrase or, um,
What does it mean to you by saying this is this and that?
uh-huh.
What does all these things means to you? There's one thing
Yeah.
I would ask. How do you feel
Uh-huh.
is one of them I would ask too.
Yeah.
What is the meaning in life that got you to say those things? Right?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Nothing, I mean, these people's perceptions, but then if it's a curious questions, I go like,
Yeah.
what? I'll be curious, why did he think that way? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's you're right. No, that is, and that is what curiosity really means then, isn't it?
Exactly. I'm just curious, like,
It's
oh,
just,
okay, there's a
it's
different
like,
perspective.
yeah, it's scratching the surface and wanting to know
Absolutely.
more. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
Well, we can stop at a place whereby we see a two parts of us emerging. But just now you
Yeah,
can't really articulate that two parts. But then you say that,
yes,
hey, there's a judgment, there's a
yeah, yeah,
feeling, and then we go
yes.
into,
There's an
oh,
observation and there's a judgment. And therefore, to
absolutely.
clarify, and this is so that I can
Move on in the
move
conversation.
on. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's right.
And
Yeah.
to have a kind of like a conclusion in terms of,
Uh-huh.
oh, did I hear him
Uh-huh.
fully? Right?
Yes,
If people are
yes.
able to talk a little bit more deeper about themselves, they're definitely going to
Mm-hmm.
be feel hurt. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
good reflections
yeah,
there. Thank you for
yes,
sharing that example, Shweta. It's just in time. This is a full
yeah,
meaning about this as a whole self of that man that you talk to. And then
yeah,
it doesn't, yeah, you see him from a different perspective if you would have asked the
yeah,
questions. Right.
yes,
Well,
yes.
thank you for
Mhm.
that. Ruchika has
Thank
a
you.
questions on the chat. Sometimes the client completely change the topic when such challenging questions observation need. How do we
Mm.
go about that? Okay, this is like a tangent of kind of things. They're on the track, suddenly 90-degree turn or 100-degree turn to the other side. So
Mm,
it's very often client jump from one space to another.
mhm,
It's like they have a worldview, but the puzzle is actually in pieces. It's not in a picture. What they do is like they throw you one piece and throw you one piece and throw you one piece and throw you one piece. You go like, where am I? Where am I going? And then what am I noticing? And that's when the tracking is actually happen. Important. For example, if let's just say, I'll give you an example. If let's just say the client is talking about workplace, let's just say communication with boss. And then the more he talk about the conflicts and with boss, I don't agree with boss. And then I don't feel meaningful working with this boss example, right? They talk about that. And then suddenly the tension of um into like sometimes my wife talking about this and that too, that kind of things. And then you can ask a linking questions for Ruchika's situations. Here is, what is your conflict with boss got to do with your wife? And it got the client to
mm,
pause and think, oh, they talk the same way. I got triggered the same way, maybe. Then they give you
mm,
more information. So now we are talking if it's in that directions, and then you go like, hey, so now we are talking about the trigger based on certain behavior other people exhibit. One is your boss, one is your wife, right? And
mm,
then would you like to take a look at it deeper, right? Contracting again. And we contract with a client. the directions may have shifted from a typical conflict in the workplace into him feeling triggered based on certain people's behavior, repetitive behavior. So when tangent off topic, change the topic, link back, what has that and that got to do with each other? And I will just parrot back and say that, hey, I think it's the next one. Yeah, this one. Because it is our job to actually really take a look at the trends in the client behavior and emotions. And you can notice maybe he exhibits the same emotions when he talk about his boss and talk about his wife, right? When we are able to put up the teams and some fear may surface, right? Because, for example, the team of I'm scared of being seen as imposter, and then has come up in many areas in even these conversations here. And then we just ask, what is really repetitive that you have been observing about yourself, facing your team, facing your boss, even facing me in these conversations? Sometimes clients get triggered based on our own behavior too. And don't be shy to put yourself on a table and let the client examine this relationship. Because sometimes it's very powerful for the client to work on something triggering them. And if you are the trigger, if they're encouraging enough, of course, we slowly contract them into working in that mode, right? Rather than saying that, hey, I think I'm causing a lot of distress in you. I'm just curious, what's happening there. Right? This is also one way that I would like to put myself under the table and just say that this relationship is still working. And especially in the discovery call here, sometimes client describes so many things in their life. And discerning the themes and the patterns need a really deep listening. And sometimes we ask questions that goes deeper and deeper and deeper. Right? Does that answer your question, Ruchika? Just give me a thumbs up if it does. Okay, I'm not so sure where you are. Okay, good. So I want to move into this part here. Just now I talk about the 6 parts. And sometimes, like I say, client goes round and round and round and round. I just want to show it with this diagram here. The client may be starting with they're telling you some facts, and then they go inside, some emotions, and they come out a little bit, and they tell you some emotions, how you feel. So they talk about their values, what matters to them. Sometimes you may be able to have a peek into their belief systems, and the whole conversation goes inside, goes outside, goes inside, goes outside. It's just like this diagram, right? And it seems like it's very messy, right? And sometimes there will be things that is unsaid. Are we hearing about that, right? And sometimes, if let's just say I were to receive the puzzles from the client, and I start piecing it in my mind, this is how the worldview of the client looks like. And I notice that one corner, some puzzles is missing. That might as well become an opening for you to deep dive into either their belief systems or emotions, or we are still at the surface talk at a factual side. Okay, so listening goes in a lot. I would say it's a multi-dimensional kind of things. It's not a one straight line. And your ability to hold both external expression and their internal expression, and you piece up the whole story to them and say, if we arrive at a certain belief systems, that would be something of a value for the clients to actually take a look at what is really happening in their life, why they come to you for. Okay, with all these things that we say just now, the world behind the words, tracking the facts, energy shift, it sounds messy sometimes. How do we actually go around and do that? Is really to quickly piece up the puzzles that the client throw out. And you can ask it. I received this thing from client, I received that thing from client. If you have to say, I don't know how am I going to link that 2 pieces, then you just ask a question. Hey, you say this thing. Hey, you say the other thing. Help me out here. Hey, client, help me out here to link this 2 pieces that you just said. Because listening is also for them to listen. Yeah, to themselves. If I'm listening to myself and I notice there's a dissonance about their stories that I can't apprehend following their chains of thoughts, and I just ask, hey, what's happening that you jump from this topic to that topic? What's happening there? I'm seeing some repetitive fears happening here in your stories, right? And that allows them to listening to their whole self. And we just observe with curiosity. and ask the next question. All right. Any questions up to this point here? No. Okay. The next one is rather something interesting. Okay. I know it's a bit small. You can do a print screen later. You can zoom in and take a look at it. But I want to share the 10 types of pitfall of active listening. We talk about surface schemas just now, right? Like the man that Shweta was talking about. We can end the conversations there. If we notice that two parts of us emerging, the judging part, the feeling part, you can deep dive and then ask a question that merge that two together and see how it looks like, and it will go beyond the surface skimming. Sometimes I see coaches doesn't like to work with emotions, right? And when emotion arise, either I would say hard to handle emotions like crying, sobbing, angry, despair. So all these things are a little bit heavy for coaches to handle. And then you go like, hey, don't be so sad, things will go over soon, that kind of things. So it's actually very dismissal to the client, and it felt very invalidated. And sometimes I hear coaches listening into the stories, like they go like, oh, me too, I have that episode before. Or if it's not me too, my client too, my other client too. Then the entire focus is shifted out from this current person that you are speaking to, and it's going to cause a lot of like feelings of like, oh man, they're talking about you. Are you hijacking the sessions? The hijack, I put a quote and quoted here, is because it's very subconscious, right? Becoming the client got to listen to you, your own stories, rather than hearing them. And this is when I say like listening to ourselves is important. And how might you be able to come back out from those states and come back to focus back to the client? Okay. Just as I'll talk about parroting, summarizing and rephrasing. Sometimes it's okay to actually parrot back word by word about what the client says, because just for them to, we mirror back to them, say that, hey, just now you say this, and that. But don't forget to add on with a powerful question. Otherwise, nothing moves. Otherwise, it's just going to be like, oh, yeah, you hear me. And then becoming like a very casual conversation, say, yeah, you hear me. But they can't move still. Okay, so it's not fully heard as a whole person yet, with a full set of informations. Some pattern hunters, I understand that especially new coaches or coaches who have practiced of less than 1 year, sometimes I do notice that pattern hunting come too fast, right? That means to say that in the very beginning, maybe first 15 minutes, and you start to identify patterns. It's actually maybe too soon. I would suggest you hear the whole story first and ask the client these important questions. What did you notice about the repetitive patterns happening in your life here with regards to this particular topic? Ask the client to name it. We don't need to premature naming a pattern. For example, I notice you keep on saying this and that. I would say that I notice you say the word, one of my recent client, sustainable career. She mentioned that sustainable career for the first 15 minutes for almost 5-6 times. I go like, what is this sustainable career that she's talking about here? Well, English-wise, I understand, but I'm just curious about what is this sustainable career means to her. So I asked her, hey, did you notice I keep saying that this sustainable career? Why does he say that? What do you want? Right? So then we can actually continue that conversations, make them realize that they have been saying something repetitively rather than naming a fear or a pattern. Okay. Advice in disguise. Oh, this one. A lot of coaches always ask, have you considered this? Have you considered that? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Those questions are pretty narrow. And when we narrow down the question in that way, it limits the options for the clients, right? You thought that you're not giving advice, but in a way that this is, I would say, advice in a very subtle way that you thought is you're giving an option, but it's not. We are limiting the options for the clients when we say, have you considered this and that? Because our worldview will be different than the client's worldview. Our puzzle that we piece in our head is very different from what a client puzzle looks like. Okay.
Could I
Right. Yes,
just
go ahead,
ask you
Shweta.
something here? So
Yes.
this advice giver in disguise is
Mm,
can I just give you a quick example and then you
yes,
can tell me?
please.
So
Yeah.
I was in a coaching session
Mm,
and this lady was she the problem by itself was a simple enough problem
mm,
that she would just wanted to know how she could overcome. And so she talked about, and the problem was about how she wasn't being able to read books as she would
mm,
like to.
mm,
Um, and she talked on about it. And then, so the takeaways from that for me were that she was looking for an ideal state in which she could pull out her book, have her mug of coffee, 3 hours of spare time, you know.
mm,
Two,
mm,
that she was looking to enjoy reading self-help books, which
mm,
are in itself quite, unless, I mean, they're not, I mean, they're fun and can be good, etc. But they're not, they're not, I think, they're not, and again, here's the judgment, but so
mm,
she said herself that it was far too heavy. She said it
mm,
actually, okay?
mm, mm.
So all of these things were then putting her off in the enjoyment of
The
reading, and
reading.
therefore, yeah, wasn't getting to it. So then I asked her about what were her other hobbies, and she'd
Mm,
said that this is what she enjoys. So I said, "What are your other
mm,
hobbies?" She said, "Painting and drawing." And so I said, "Tell me about it." And she told me again. I said, "And how and do you do it?" And she said,
mm,
"I
mm.
don't get enough time for it because again, she's looking for this ideal state
Ideal
where."
state.
Yes, where she will have her, easel up and she will have 3 hours to
Mm,
herself and,
mm.
with her, that sort of situation. So then I said
Okay.
to her, I said, what about, have you thought of painting on postcards, for example?
Mm, mm,
Okay, so, and she said, well, no, I haven't. And I said, is that something you'd consider? Okay, and so she said she would consider it. And okay, so then that was thing. And she was like, oh, that's really lovely. And I said, do you think um, you could use this? Do you think you could transfer it to reading?
mm.
Okay, now, so, and then she was like, oh, suddenly there was a light bulb moment,
Okay.
and that was fine. But my question here is that was it the right thing to do? In
Okay.
that, connect the postcards,
To the reading.
to the
Yeah.
reading.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Because over here, does it come under the advice giver in disguise?
I'm hearing the advice question. Yes, I do. But I'm also hearing more than what you have just described. It sounds to me that this client, if I were to summarize what I hear from you,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
sounds like this client is exploring certain type of relaxation, me time kind of topic. And you
Mm-hmm,
guys are exploring different alternative in doing certain things. And
mm-hmm,
reading books, she's used the word heavy. And
mm-hmm,
also, I'm also hearing you saying that she feel enjoying doing that. Heavy and
mm-hmm.
enjoyment is a two different polarity, right?
Mm,
In my
I
way.
think yes, I think
Mm,
but she did say, because it's quite, I mean, they're quite meaty, the books, the
mm,
self-help genre.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and she finds that daunting. She does it kind of,
yeah,
she wants to, but is unable to as well because of
yeah,
the,
yeah.
yeah. So sorry,
Okay.
yes.
In
Mm-hmm,
terms of the directions of the coaching, you are asking me, is it okay if I link the postcard into the reading? It is
mm-hmm,
linking the way of being from
mm-hmm,
doing the postcard into the reading. How much
mm-hmm,
she used the way of being to apply into reading. That's a good
mm-hmm,
move, right? That's a good move.
mm-hmm,
Um, However, that
mm-hmm,
advising questions, have you
mm-hmm,
considered postcard? Do you think you
mm-hmm,
can do this, do this? Right? There are
mm-hmm,
two different layers, right? If
mm-hmm,
I were to be in that conversations, typically I
mm-hmm,
would be exploring how does your 3 hours relaxation time looks like. I
mm-hmm,
will set a very clear goal for her to see her relaxation looks like this and that.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
then I will ask her, what do you do actually got you into that kind of relaxation mode? If let's just say reading a thick book is actually not at all, not something enjoyable, if it's very dense.
mm-hmm,
And she'll give certain things like, oh, this is a postcard, maybe one of them, I don't know. Okay. And
mm-hmm.
then from that aspect, what do you notice what is actually
mm,
common when you're
mm,
doing all those things?
mm, mm,
And she may say that,
mm.
oh, I do this because of this particular
Yes,
trait and that. Use
yes,
that
yes,
into the book. She
yes,
seems like she wants to read the book, but she's finding really hard to read the book.
yes. And I think I should have just left it
Yeah,
for her to reach that conclusion rather than me saying, how would you transfer this to this?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
then I'm telling her,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah,
I'm advising her.
yeah.
While if I just left it there and asked her to further explore that,
Okay.
then that might have been better. Yeah.
I didn't have the whole conversations of your coaching, right, matters
Yeah.
with her. But what I'm
Mm-hmm.
guessing here is
Mm-hmm.
the goal setting may have been not clear. That's why when the goal setting is not clear, a lot of you
Yeah.
coaches end up in a way of like a decision tree exploration. When I say decision tree exploration,
Yeah.
if
Yeah. Yeah.
else that,
Yeah.
if else that, if it's not
Yeah.
that, must be
Yeah.
that one. Then it will just branch out
Yeah.
the whole tree. And they go like,
Yeah.
I'm lost in the tree trunks. So many
That's
monkeys, which
so
one should I
true.
pick?
Yeah, that
That's
is
how you
so
typically,
true. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
how
yeah,
typical coaches, this
yeah,
is one of the pitfall as well, about goal setting,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Goal setting, very important. Setting up
Don't
the contract. Yeah.
exactly. So contract, it needs to be strong so that we can arrive at a more conclusive way for the client to work into. That also involve a
Yeah.
lot of hearing. When you say, oh, I
Yes.
want to read a book. Okay, is it that's it? What do you want to read a book? Yeah,
Mm, mm,
clarify the
mm,
goal. Oh, I want to read a book.
mm,
This is a me time. Okay, you want a me time? Sure. Okay.
mm,
So how does book reading a book, right? It's going to complete a thick book, a very dense book, very heavy book. I'm feeling tired
mm,
and all these things.
mm,
Okay.
mm,
So do you still want to read a book? Right? And
mhm.
reinforce and contract that reading a book
Yeah.
is the ultimate aim. Or she
Mm,
just want a me time that looks like a different thing. I don't know.
mm, mm.
So come back to contracting. So that involves a lot of hearing, which is actually
Yes.
got into the selective hearing part,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Because
mm,
sometimes we need not do the right thing, but we just give the space for the client. And we say, if we don't know, you just say that, oh, okay, I'm not so sure about that. Can you explain more, for example,
yes.
right? So when we see, which is I want to come back to number 2 here, when we see the client, they are not the problem, right? Sometimes we are being
Mm,
helpful by
mm,
diagnostic
mm,
and being
mm,
fixated on certain things. And then the client will just feel like a subject matter of a case
mm,
study,
mm.
right?
Yes.
Does it make sense to you? Does it give you a lot,
Yes.
some
Yes.
light bulbs in terms of how you can dissect?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I think absolutely. This is
Wow.
very, very I mean, this is the basic, you see.
Yeah.
And yes, got it. I understand. It'll require
Yes.
practice, but I understand it. Yeah.
Yeah. So here
Mhm,
comes a practice. Our last fun part here is really yeah, when we are any one of the top 10 pitfalls, right? The
mhm,
commonality here is really we process a lot of things through our head.
mhm,
When we listen, bring in your full body to listen with your
mm,
heart, with your body as well. Sometimes as you are listening, you will have a sensations on you. That's why I say that don't listen to Charlene. Notice about your sensations in these sessions. This is also a form of practice.
mhm,
Because when we notice the form of sensation, it allows us to really come back. This is why I call it a comeback, the return practice. It will get shorter and shorter, and it
mm,
requires constant practice every single coaching sessions. You'll notice that you drift out from the coaching space. You focus into problem
mhm,
solutioning, or I'm focused on a client. If you notice that,
mhm,
oh, have you done this? Okay, wait. That's my perception about my own world, right? Then I
mhm,
say, come back, return. Or you can, if you don't like the word return, use a different word. I mean, for myself, I like to say is come back.
mhm,
Come back where? Come back where? Come back here. Come back here with the
mhm,
client, right? That
mhm,
brings in a lot of awareness. And in the coming back, ground yourself by shifting somatically your own body. Leg cross, uncross it, arms cross, or arms goes like this way, they just shift a little bit. So the body actually helps us to come back to really being here, right? And when we return to the client, all ears are fresh and come back and listen again. And it's kind of like a reflection questions here. I like even when I'm self-reflection, reflecting on my own coaching sessions, I will ask myself, what is a voice in my head telling me to do a good coach, or thinking what question should I ask next? Sometimes the questions will just pop instantaneously. When you notice yourself drifting, come back, drifting, come back, and the duration is getting shorter and shorter. And that's when the question comes quickly. So in the session, just notice if you're drifting off. This is a very good practice. And post sessions, reflect, how often did I drift just now? Run back the whole session in your mind and notice, how often did I drift? How far did I drift? How long did I drift? Yeah. Did I catch myself to come back? What did I do to catch myself to come back? Yeah. One more example is, I know one of my fellow coaches, he likes to tap himself on the floor, right? The feet is on the floor. He's just going to tap and tap and tap. Make sure that he's here now with the client. So this is one of the somatic things that he does. I find it, that's quite interesting. To me, it's like distracting. Try all ways to see what works. Okay? Yeah. So the last part here is really, sometimes listening is we really need to sit with not knowing anything and hold the client's energy from your full body presence. That's all about listening is. Yeah. I hope today's insights is helpful to your practice, Shweta.
Thank you so much. Yes, definitely. I'm
You're
gonna
welcome.
take it away. Thank you. Is there somewhere where I can access your presentation?
You can drop me a message. I can share with you. You can take a screenshot of this. You can WhatsApp me,
Yeah.
or you can join me in a LinkedIn. I can share with you the presentation slide.
Okay. Yes, please. Thank you.
Because I don't want
Thank
to share
you
in a
very
big group.
much.
I don't want to share in a big group because a lot of them doesn't have the context on that.
Yes, of course.
Drop me a
That's
text. I'll
absolutely.
share with you later. Okay, Shweta?
Okay. Thank you very much, Charlene.
You're welcome. You have a nice day there. I think
Thank
Ruchika
you.
is dropped
And
off.
you
Thank you
too.
so much.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, we can stop the recording. Hey, Team Abhyudaya, we can stop the recording.